Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati.
Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Schutte sitting in as he does as well. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. We're just a week away from Christmas. It's my favorite holiday, so I'm doing really well. How about you?
Man, unless somebody says that about an upcoming holiday, I completely always forget. And it could be 2 days away, and I'm like, what? And hopefully I'll remember that since you just said it, because I am sure there are things that I need to get done in between now and that day. Because I'm like, wait, what? It's like I come up out of the hallway. Wait, what happened? It's like, wow. And yeah, I cannot believe we're that close. And here we are. A little bit of snow yesterday in Bloomington. So that was kind of cool. Looked good, but we're in that tweener time that I call in between football and basketball. And that tweener time is a little more exact. It's bigger this year, I guess you'd say. You've got less bowl games coming up. We've seen bowl games get canceled. We've seen teams that are going to opt out. Well, as usual, we don't know who's going where, but that'll be something to look forward to on Sunday. We will know Sunday who's going where. Very interesting, because we know that this college football invitational committee has done their best to try to manipulate things. We've seen it. And right before we came on, I started to start talking about this. I'm like, well, I'm waiting. What I want to know is, how in the hell does this college football invitational committee go forward knowing that the entire country, every reputable media person, anybody that's anybody, knows that they are nothing but a bunch of frauds, that they're fraudulently doing this, and they can stick their head in the sand all they want and act like that they're not. But it's crazy time, and this has to be addressed. I don't want to hear any more BS excuses of, well, we've got a contract and you got to do the 4 teams down till 2080. Bullcrap. Fix it. That one day that we saw, I can't remember who did it, Dustin. He put out a tweet that had a playoff set up, and it was perfect. I'm like, wow, boom, there you go. And who wouldn't love that? Because overall, great games. You had cross matches. You had 16 teams. You're implementing the bowl games. It was absolutely perfect. And I promise you, it is not amongst the agenda of the college football invitational crowd. But other than that, it's perfect for the students, for the athletes, for the teams, for the schools, and for the fans. Everybody except these college football invitational powers to be, it seems.
Yeah, and I saw that exact same graphic that you saw, 16 teams. It looks beautiful. The biggest problem to me is you have a separation gap, and it's continuing to grow between the elites, the haves, and the have-nots. And that's a big problem. And you go back to when college basketball, originally the tournament, was a 32-team tournament, and it continues to grow. And look at what it's done for the sport. It's created so much parity that you can see a team like a George Mason or a Butler get a chance to go to the Final Four. You can see a team like Gonzaga, who plays in a no-name conference, be the best team in the country. And when you look at college football, the one thing I tell people, the thing that bothers me the most about this is there is no other sport that we play, that I'm aware of anyway, in which half of your teams participating are eliminated from a national championship without even taking a snap. None of the what the committee is showing you this year by continually to drop Cincinnati. Now, whether or not you think Cincinnati's good or whether they played anybody or not, that's beside the point. The fact is they're 8-0.
Include Indiana in there. I think you can include Indiana in this too.
You absolutely could. But the fact that you continue to drop Cincinnati when they've played 8 games, they've won all 8 games, and yet you're not going to drop Ohio State for not playing games? That doesn't add up to me. And then you look at Indiana, who's behind what? Is it still 3 2-loss teams? They're behind Georgia, Miami, Iowa State. Their only loss is a 7-point loss to the number 4 team in the country. They've beaten everybody else on their schedule. They've won most of those games handedly, by the way. So it just doesn't make any sense. Like you're judging teams on some rules one way, and then the other group of teams is judged by a completely different criteria, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I think this year more than any other, you're starting to see that. Basically, what the committee's saying is, if you're an undefeated Power 5 team, it doesn't matter. We're going to put you in the college football playoff in those 4 teams because these games don't matter. You can't tell me that after the number 6 ranking, Florida drops 1 spot after a loss to a really, really bad LSU team. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but the thing is, now I want to know what is going to happen. Are they going to allow this to continue? We're tired. People are tired of it. It's baloney. The players are tired of it. Do you think every Cincinnati team, on that Indiana team, on whatever team we're talking about, that's getting screwed over, that works their butts off, that works just as hard as anybody from Ohio State or Clemson or Alabama? It's crap. And these guys predetermine what they want, and it's got to end. But it's up to the football coaches to do this. It's up to the schools to do this. They're the ones getting screwed. Well, this invitational committee is made up of nothing but people from schools. So I leave it up to the conferences. But we saw what the Big Ten did. They made sure that hey, let's get our piece of this pie. So let's screw everybody we can screw to get our piece of the pie. So you got everybody screwing everybody to get to the party to screw everybody. It's college football is absolutely the biggest fraudulent sporting event being run, in my opinion. The college football invitational, that is.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree with you right now, and this is why I've started. When this first started in whatever it was, 2014, I think we thought this was going to be a great model. It was going to, include more teams. We were going to get a real true champion, and instead, to me, it's had the opposite effect. I used to be a hardcore, we only need 4 teams. Let's not expand. 4 teams is the perfect number, but the further we've gotten away from that 2014 season, the more we realize that we really need it needs to be at least 8 teams. I would love to see 16 teams because, like you said, that graphic the other day was mouthwatering. I would love that to see those games between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Oh, that would be awesome. But we need it to be at least 8 teams right now because there's no criteria. Like, even I'm going to go back to the college basketball reference. At the very least, we know that there's a committee who makes selections, but every conference, every team knows if I win my conference tournament, I get a bid to the NCAA tournament. So you at least know that there's one criteria. Everything else is left up to chance. And why can't we have something like that where you say, okay, let's say an 18 playoff, the Power 5 champions go, and we're going to include the highest ranked group of 5 champion. And so that way everybody gets involved, and then you're going to throw 2 at-large bids, whatever. But that way, at least we know what the criteria is, because right now there's no criteria. They keep changing it day to day, week to week, year to year. And it's incredibly frustrating because, again, how they judge one team and how they judge another team can be 2 completely different ways.
Well, and everything they do is to help their agenda. It is only to further their agenda. Whatever, and that's the thing. When Mike was on, but don't really know what that agenda is because you can't tell because there's so many different places, people going in different direction. The Pac-12 or the Big 12, obviously, somehow somebody in that room is persuading other people. That's the only thing I can imagine is going on because everybody else steps back and says, what the hell are you all doing? Because we can all see
right
that Iowa State, Louisiana, that Iowa State has lost twice, that Georgia has lost twice and beaten no one, that they beat an all team that was $21 million to fire their coach.
Yep.
That's the only win over a winning team that Georgia has.
Yeah.
But they're so great. Yes. We all know it doesn't make sense, but what I want to know is what's going to be done about this. Is there going to be change? Will people finally stand up? Will coaches like Tom Allen, who doesn't have a lot of power, but and lots of coaches like him who are in that bracket just below, go to their ADs and say, you know what? You need to go and just beat on this desk, and we're tired of this. That's what it's going to take. Like we saw the Big Ten come out and say the vote to put Ohio State in was unanimous. That's horse crap.
Yeah.
They're liars. They just lie to you, and we all know they're lying. And nobody is held accountable. And that is what's so aggravating. They're lying. We know they're lying. They know we know we're lying, but yet nothing gets done about it.
Well, and you're not going to see, I don't think you're going to see any serious conversation come out of the Big Ten. And Jim Delaney kind of stepped out of this role when the Big Ten really needs him most, because you have to start petitioning some of this stuff. Because to be quite honest, I don't think the ACC or the SEC is going to be the leader in the clubhouse on this. I don't think they're going to be the one, taking the fire and pitchforks to the college football, as you call it, invitational committee. They're not going to be attacking them
because they don't need to. They're in the party.
The SEC and the ACC are the only two conferences in the sport who have had a team in multiple years. The ACC might get two teams in this year because of Notre Dame joining the conference.
And that is absolutely mind-boggling, because besides those two teams, that is one of the weakest conferences in Power 5 football, if not the weakest in Power 5 football. But
and has been.
Big 12, or Pac-12. And yeah, it's you've got Clemson and Notre Dame is not really a part of that conference. They're a de facto member.
Right.
But they're riding on the coattails. But yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine getting two teams in the college. That right there is enough to just blow it up. You've got one of the weakest conferences getting into teams. The one that they've already played and they've already beaten each other. I don't care that Trevor Lawrence didn't play. He was on the damn sideline. But let's take a break real quick. We got a lot more coming up here. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Justin Schutte with us as always. We've been talking about the college football invitational and whether or not that is going to change. We'll certainly see, but we'll know Sunday. Bowl matchups coming out. The importance of being in that top 12, that's the New Year's Six bowls. If you hear New Year's Six bowl, that or the bowl, that's the bowl games minus the two national championship game, semifinal games. So there's your 4 teams, but then your other 8 teams playing in those bowl games. One of which is the Fiesta Bowl. Indiana has been mentioned in for a long time. Then they were out for a minute, and now it seems like they're back in. It's going to be really difficult to push Indiana out of the Fiesta Bowl. They barely moved them up to the 11th spot, but yes, they could because all they got to do is slide them down 2 places. But I really would find it of course, I found everything this committee has done hard to believe, but could they possibly move out the second best team in the Big Ten? I mean, would they really do that?
Well, I don't think so, but let me tell you what is the big benefit here, because the Indiana-Purdue game, obviously, we're not getting the old Oaken bucket for the first time in over 100 years, I think it is. So that's a bummer. Obviously, you always want to see that game played. But the benefit for Indiana is the fact that Iowa and Michigan got canceled, because I think if there was going to be a team that could potentially bump them out, Iowa with another win, getting to 7 wins, 7-2 on the season, not having a head-to-head, and Indiana not playing in 2 weeks, I think there was a chance. And remember, Gary Parda is the chairman of this committee, this college football invitational committee.
Gary Botta? You mean Gary Botta?
I like that, actually. So there's a chance that
think about it for 3 days. Gary Botta.
I like it. That's good. We too bad he doesn't have an S in his name that we could, change into a $sign or something like that. But but I think that was the only way Indiana was going to get past. I mean, obviously, if Northwestern were to pull off a miracle and beat Ohio State, then we have a different conversation. But I think that was the only team that could knock Indiana off. How weird is it, by the way, that Indiana beat Wisconsin a few weeks ago, stays at number 12 in the college football playoff rankings, don't play a game this week and move up a spot? I mean, I know that Miami lost and Florida lost, but it just shows that it's you're better off to not play. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, not if you're Cincinnati. They didn't play, and they moved down one spot each week. Yeah, they went from 7th to 9th just by not playing. It's funny. I mean, it's not funny. That's the thing. It's not. But who's going to, again, it's a change. Who's going to make the change? Ryan from Michigan sent in the text. You might have seen this, but the AAC commissioner's not happy about the college football. Well, of course he's not. But that is what it's going to take, even though that's, the AAC, they're not a Power 5. They're but it takes somebody to start standing up and beating the drum. And if it's the little guy, beat the drum. Somebody will come along. The Central Floridas will come along. I mean, because a couple of years ago when Scott Frost was in Central Florida, that was a legit team that could have and did play with any Power 5 team. They beat Auburn in a bowl game. And so I get it. I mean, do I think Cincinnati's better than Indiana? No. So, and it's not because of where they play, it's who they play. They haven't played anybody. They haven't beaten anybody in my mind that's worthy of replacing. I saw an Indiana team go to Ohio State and should have beat Ohio State. They handed them that game with 3 turnovers. But no, I don't think that they're better than – I think that they're ranked higher than they should be, to be honest with you. But they're undefeated. How do you – that's weird. there's nothing to really judge Cincinnati on other than they've won, but they haven't beaten anybody yet.
Right.
Okay, let's put them way up here. Coastal Carolina, haven't they done the same thing and actually beaten somebody that was ranked in BYU? Why are they not ranked ahead of Cincinnati?
And here's the thing. They beat a ranked BYU team. That's BYU's only loss this season. They beat a ranked Louisiana team, and that's Louisiana's only loss this season.
Who beat Iowa State?
Who beat Iowa State. And Coastal Carolina is, I think, 11-0. You'd have to check me on that. I don't know what the record is, but they've played more games than Cincinnati. So this is why I say what the criteria basically is we thought Cincinnati was going to be good this season in the preseason rankings. So that's why they're so high. We didn't think Coastal Carolina was good. So they had to make up more ground. It just doesn't, this is why you need criteria. And every year, this drives me nuts. Every stinking year is you don't have a set amount of criteria. And let me say this too. Now, Dan Mullen, if people watched the Florida LSU game and he went on his little tirade after the game about the fact that he thought that, Florida has played more games this season, they should get the opportunity, if they were to beat Alabama, even with 2 losses, to play in the college football playoff. Well, and on the face value, I agree with him. If you play more football games, you should get that opportunity. The problem is that the Big Ten has been playing 9 conference games, has essentially eliminated FCS opponents from the schedule, and they've been dinged for playing more competitive football games, having better opponents on the schedule. So it's kind of flipped the script here a little bit, whereas now you're seeing more of these teams who have, the SEC, ACC playing more games, playing more competitive football, and now Ohio State, ironically, is getting the benefit of not playing more games. So there needs to be a focus where the games matter, because right now, like I've said, it just doesn't appear to me that, especially outside of those top 6 or 7 teams, the games just don't matter. They just basically place teams where they want to place them, and they don't. I wonder how many games of Cincinnati, Indiana, Coastal Carolina, Iowa they've watched this season, because I think the primary focus is on the top 6 or 7 teams right now, and I don't think you can deny that.
Nope. Other actions going on. The Supreme Court is going to hear the case challenging the limits on college athletes' compensation after the NCAA's petition. This is a scary thing. I think athletes should be rewarded to a degree, but not. This is getting crazy. We're talking revenue sharing and all this crap. I'm like, you're going to absolutely ruin and destroy college sports. Stop. These damn lawmakers. Now you got lawmakers getting involved. It's going to change. Within 10 years, it will not be a recognizable institution. Now, college football needs to change. Everything else is fine. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. They're changing all these rules for a small percentage of these athletes, and that is what, to me, it's just attention seeking by these lawmakers. They get involved in things. They have no clue as to what they're doing. They have no idea how this is going to change and affect college athletics. They have no idea how it's going to impact, ruin it in certain ways. You're going to open up avenues for payment players. You think it's been bad now? Wait till you legalize it and then have to chase those rabbit holes down. It's just, I see it as just a mess coming.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a slippery slope. And I think people are too quick to say we need to pay the players, or they need to be compensated, or, there are certain things that I completely agree with. I don't understand why, a student athlete can't go to an autograph session and make a couple $100 or something to that extent. If they want to be in a promotional commercial advertisement or whatever. But I don't know where you draw the line. This is going to be a snowball effect at some point. And like you said, it's going to affect such a small amount, but of players, student athletes. But I always go back to this kind of situation in my head, and you think about what kind of restrictions are you going to be able to put on it. And you talk about a quarterback. Let's use Michael Penix as an example. He's from Tampa, really good quarterback. You're telling me there's not a Florida State booster who could offer him, some sort of advertising deal or, frequent autograph sessions to make him a little money to come be the quarterback at Florida State? He'd be a heck of a lot better than anybody they've had in the last 5 years anyway. So that's where I think that there's going to be some issues. If a guy has a great season and he gets an earworm that, hey, you want to go over to Florida State, you want to go to Florida, you want to go to Georgia, wherever, they're willing to set you up and get you taken care of. Are we going to start seeing that in college athletics? And with the transfer portal the way it is, there's no penalties for sitting or for transferring. You don't have to sit out 1 year anymore. I think that there's a lot of different things that I think benefit the players and are good for the players. But if you do all of this, it's going to be like you said, the best way to put it, it's going to be very unrecognizable.
Yeah. And there's no going back. You can't put that toothpaste back in either.
Right.
And so that's where we're headed. And unfortunately, we'll see how that turns out. Michael Jordan launching Hoop Dreams Classic to showcase HBCU programs. He wants to put a spotlight on historically black colleges and universities. So that ought to be cool to see. That's another rise of a different you get the smaller colleges. It's college basketball has been great, as you talked about a minute ago. It has opened it up. Anybody can actually win the college basketball national championship. We've seen, was it George Washington or George Mason go to the Final Four? I mean, it happens, and it can happen. Butler almost became the true Hoosiers when that ball came off the rim in the national championship game. It almost happened. It was there. Football, not even. So college basketball is to me, it's so much more fun because everybody's got a chance. We just saw Richmond beat Kentucky. Evansville, you always see those. Man, that doesn't happen on the football side. Rarely.
And a lot of people will use this argument against me. And it's does anybody think that Texas A&M could beat Alabama? Does anybody think Indiana could beat Alabama? And while I would agree and say no, I don't think that would happen. At the same time, you have to start somewhere. If you expand the playoff to 8 or 16 teams or whatever you decide to do, it's going to create more parity. Now, those first couple years, yeah, you're going to see the number 1 seed probably pound on the number 8 seed. It's probably going to be ugly football because, like I said earlier, there's such a gap in talent. But what that does over time is it says, hey, you know what? The Big Ten can get 2, maybe 3 teams in. The SEC could get 2 or 3, maybe 3 teams in. We could get group of 5 teams. We could get 1 group of 5 team in. And so players are going to reconsider their options. They're not just going to all flood to the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Notre Dames. They're going to start to go to other places where they know that they actually have a chance. Right now, if you want to win a national championship, you've got basically 5 or 6 options: Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame. That's about it. So I think we need to see this thing expand. And while it's going to be ugly to start, at some point, it's going to create more parity. And it's going to create a much more fun postseason, in my opinion.
The year before Virginia won a national championship, they became the first number 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed in the NCAA tournament to UMBC. UMBC is in no way, shape, or form should have been in that class. That should have had no chance, but it happened. It can't happen, and that's the great thing about it. So, and that's what makes it fun. But now we got to move forward. Indiana basketball. There's another story. We saw that they pulled in a big grad transfer, Parker Stewart. They got a shooter coming.
That's what they need, too. They need a big-time shooter.
Absolutely. Well, the recruiting hasn't been going as great as people would like. We're still waiting on the decision of Amanu Muhammad. That's coming on the 21st. What is today's date? 17th. So we got 4 more days for that. But it's not, from what I've heard, that's not trending in Indiana's direction. So that would be, if that comes to fruition, that would be the 3rd major recruit lost in succession fashion, Mason Miller and Trey Kaufman before that. So you got to get somebody in here. They're going to be shy of bodies. You're going to lose Trace Jackson Davis after this. This is last season for Trace Jackson Davis. Who are you going to run in there? So having a grad transfer is great, just simply for having a veteran of any sort on. It always helps to add, but this guy is a shooter, and Indiana has needed that for 4 years. So hopefully that will help them out in that regard. But you got to be happy about that. And now, when will he be here? He's coming to school mid-semester, trying to decide whether or not he's going to play. He's been dealing with personal issue. He lost his father, and that has affected him, obviously, greatly, as it would. So he's trying to decide whether or not he's going to play once he gets here. So we don't know whether or not he'll be a member of that team. And he could play for Indiana this season.
Well, if he's a shooter, I would do everything I could to get a jersey on him and get him out on the floor, because that's the one thing that Indiana has struggled with, especially against really good defenses, is they just don't have a guy who you can count on to get you a bucket or stretch the defense a little bit there behind the 3-point line. So that would be absolutely huge for Indiana. And you're right, they gotta do something on the recruiting front, because this isn't Archie Miller can't take a step back. There's no time for a rebuild. You've been building this program up, and you haven't gotten to they would have gotten to the NCAA tournament last year, but you haven't done it yet. So you have to continue to improve, get better, and take Indiana to that next level. Fans are not going to be happy if you have a down year because you weren't able to haul in some big-time recruits.
Speaking of grad transfers, how about on the football side, Michigan State? They added a couple of big-timers. Michigan State, let's see, who was that quarterback? Anthony Russo, transfer from Temple. He's going to go over there. But also, who was the other one? Oh, man. Oh, daggone it. Can't find it. But they had the Russo. He's a 6'4", 240-pounder. He signed with Temple in 2016. But they pulled in a couple of guys. Michigan State's not going to mess around. And also, Michigan had the second highest recruiting class by rankings. So Jim Harbaugh, there's another story. What's going to go on there? It's kind of died down here of late. So I bet you he ends up not leaving this year.
I don't think so either. I think because they've talked about the contract, because they have such a good recruiting class, I think he's going to be around for the 2021 season. But I think that contract language, the buyout numbers, the salary, I think it's going to imply that if Michigan does not get to 10 wins next season, or if they're not, if they get blown off the field by Ohio State again, I think he's going to be done after the 2021 season. So I think it's going to be win or find a new job after this year. I just don't think that there's going to be justification. But we've seen crazier things. We saw D'Antonio leave a day before National Signing Day in last February at Michigan State. So anything's possible. I don't think Harbaugh is that kind of guy, but I'm not going to rule anything out at this point, because it's 2020, man. Anything can happen.
This weekend coming up, this is championship weekend in college football. For the College Football Invitational. What changes? Obviously, Ohio State has to beat Northwestern. Wouldn't that be funny? Oh, my gosh. Wouldn't that just be funny? I would just love the turmoil of that happening. That would just be nuts. But anyway, you've got Oregon playing USC. That's Friday night. It's a Friday night game. USC 5-0, booked as expected to be the Pac-12 champion, expected to play in the Fiesta Bowl. As of right now, you got here. Now here's a game. Here's one to watch. A 2-loss 7-2 Oklahoma, number 10, traveling to number 6, 2-loss in Iowa State. Boy, if whoever loses that game, I'd like to see him move them down just one spot. That would just be funny. That would just be right along with what this. But what are you going to do with that 3-loss? Because the Pac or the Big 12 somehow is getting. They've got some guys in there that are doing some work on this committee. 2 guys on that committee. That's what it is, I guess. They're doing a hell of a job. They need a raise. Those guys are doing a hell of a job. And if I was the Pac or the Big 12, I'd be proud as can be of the job those guys are doing. That's what you're supposed to do. We sent you there, and you did it. So congratulations to them. I don't blame them. Northwestern and Ohio State. There you go. I don't see that game. There's no chance of that game coming out in any way other than it should. So I don't see that affecting anything. What happens to Northwestern? Because I think they're the 4th best team in the Big Ten at best. They're, of course, behind Indiana. They're behind Iowa. I know they beat Iowa at the start of the year, but Iowa lost to Purdue at the start of the year, too. I don't know how the hell that happened, but they've won 5 or 6 straight since then. I didn't. That would have been a game. I'd have been. That would have been Indiana and Iowa. Boy, that could have been a Donnybrook.
That would have been like a 6-3 field goal only kind of game, because those 2 defense are outstanding. Obviously, Iowa's offense hasn't been great, and Indiana's without Michael Penix. So I don't know. I think it's going to depend probably on how well Northwestern plays. If they get blown out of the water, they'll probably drop a few spots. If they hang close, they may sit in that number 14 spot, still behind Indiana. I think it just depends on what it looks like. But, you posed a really good question the other day on Twitter, and maybe we'll have to get to this in the next segment is, the question I keep coming back to is what happens if Indiana would have beat Ohio State? I don't think they would have be in the top 4 right now. Based on where they're ranking.
Let's do that. Let's talk about that because I guarantee you there's no way they would be, but we've seen what they've done. But hey, we got to hit a break because we're late. Let's get to it. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We'll be back with more to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Until I find myself lost, maybe I'll get rock star skinny, play pretending all my videos.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. I'm not going to lie to you, that one completely stumped me. No idea who that was. I never heard that one before. Dustin Schutte sitting in with me as always. Jim Coyle sitting here. I was just. Let's see. What were we going to get into? You brought up. Oh yeah. If Indiana was undefeated, it's the names, not the games, for this committee. And that's the truth. It's unfortunately it is the names and not the games. Because if you think back, I can tell you exactly without a hesitation, my favorite bowl game I've ever watched in my life was Boise State, Oklahoma. I mean, it doesn't get any better. That's all I care. All you care about is the great games. It doesn't matter where they're played. It doesn't matter if it's in the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl. At the end of the day, it's how good are the games. And I think they've gotten too far away from that. They care too much about the names and not the games.
Right. They care too much about what's going to draw in the largest audience, the most revenue. And I go even back to 2014 again, is the very first time that they had a selection committee. There was Baylor with 1 loss, TCU with 1 loss, and Ohio State with 1 loss. And ESPN sent out a poll, which team should get that 4th spot. And Ohio State accounted for like 60 or 70% of those votes. And that poll was sent out before the selection committee made their final decision. So are you telling me that that didn't have some sort of implication in that? That wasn't considered in that room? So that's where I think that there's some concern about what the motive is. I mean, we know what the motive is. It's dollars and cents. But that's where it's starting to trump the games and what is happening on the field. And that's a big time problem. And I go, again, you look at Indiana, have they beaten every team they've played other than Ohio State by double digits? I can't remember off the top of my, other than Penn State, I guess. Because they had that 1 point win at the beginning of the season.
Well, they beat the spread in every game they played.
Yeah. So
every game, including the ones that they were a 21-point and a 14-point road underdog.
Yeah. And so if you beat Ohio State based on their 11th ranking, I think that Texas A&M would be number 4. And I think Florida would be Indiana might be sitting undefeated and might be number 6 or number 7. I legitimately believe
they would be. I think they would be treated like Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they would be ahead of Cincinnati, but I don't think they would be in that Final Four. I think that would go to Texas A&M, and I think Florida would still be ahead of them. And that's where the problem is, because Indiana they don't draw on the money. They don't have the big audience. They don't have the big fan base or the following on the football side. They have that in basketball. They have had trouble with that on the football side. So that's where my biggest concern is with this whole thing, because I think that you set that question out on Twitter. It was probably Tuesday after the rankings came out, and I agree with you. I don't think they'd be in the top 4 if they would have beaten Ohio State.
Nope, not sexy enough for them. And you talk about numbers. I know this is gambling, but it matters. It all matters. If you think Las Vegas doesn't have some sway, you're out of your mind, because we're talking billions of dollars, not millions, billions with a B. Coming up this weekend, how much money do you think is being bet on college football? I would think it's a lot. I don't have that number, but I would imagine it's a lot. If you took all the college football games, there is just a ton of money. Ton. But guess what? Guess who's responsible for 40% of those dollars? The Alabama-Florida game. 40% of all dollars bet on college football right now this weekend is on that game. And of that 40%, Alabama is responsible for 75% of that 40%. Not a mathematician, but that's a crap ton of money. And guess what? Clemson, same way. Ohio State's the same way. And those are the names that are going to be placed in front of people to consume.
Yeah. And that's where you're going to get your big, like we said, that's where you're going to get your big dollars and cents. And I don't know how much of the jersey is accounted for in terms of gambling, but I'm assuming based on those numbers, it's going to be pretty high. Like, you're not going to see people bet on Nebraska Rutgers this weekend. You're not going to see Oklahoma Iowa State. That's not really, I mean, maybe some of the money goes to Oklahoma there, but Cincinnati Tulsa, that's going to be a great game, but there's not going to be a lot of money bet on it. So I think you're onto something. That's actually something I've never really even considered. But when you have 30% of the money essentially is being carried by the Alabama Crimson Tide, pretty easy to see why they've been in 40% on the
the game. Yeah.
On 40% on the game, 30% on Alabama. It's pretty easy to see why the Crimson Tide have been in 5 out of the 6 years or whatever it is. They've only missed once, and that was last year when LSU got in.
And those teams will continue to have the best recruiting classes, because if you continue to put them in, that's where everybody wants to go. It's a model that has to change, but they have to change it themselves. We can fight about it all we want. But I guess the question is, has it got right? The complaints, they're so obvious, they're so transparent by not being transparent, that it's time for that. But the one place that continues to get away with things are the NCAA and all. And I know that the college football committee is not the NCAA, but they're NCAA schools. It's all the same. Right. It all goes to the same place. So they have to make that decision, and they're only going to do so when there's enough of an uproar and when enough of the people because the conferences still benefit. The conference members, like if you're a Big Ten member, Rutgers and Illinois, guess what? They want Ohio State in that college football playoffs because they want that $6 million in the coffers because they want their little piece of it because they're not going anywhere. They're not going to a bowl game. They're going to make money. So they need Ohio State to make it for them or Indiana or whoever it is that's going to bowl games, generating that money because it's spread out. But the rich continue to get richer.
They do. And you know where this what would be really beneficial right now is if somebody was in charge of this sport. There's nobody in charge of the sport. You saw this in the summer when we were deciding
like a commissioner?
A commissioner, a SAR, something, just put a title on it, whatever it is, and have somebody that lays out rules and qualifications and credentials and all this stuff.
That's it. That's something I've not thought about. It's so fractured. The NCAA runs the men's basketball tournament. They have nothing to do with football. How do you have that? You've got a company that seems like it's being run in 3 different directions. It makes no sense on how they operate. None. And I don't. You want to talk about lawmakers stepping in? They don't need to step in and get payers play. They need to step in and fix this because certain entities benefit millions of dollars. That's where I think they need to be stepping in. Leave the players thing alone because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Stay away from that. But they're not going to. They just can't help themselves. But
right,
this is what needs fixed.
Yeah, and it would be. I think at some point somebody's going to step in because there's going to be a lot of money here to be made. Think about this, and this is what I don't understand. I know you have a contract that you have to keep it 4 teams for what, like you said, I don't know when that is, maybe 2026 or 27, something like that. But think of how much money they would make if they did expand this playoff. If you had 8 or 16 teams in, I mean, people are going to gobble that up just like they do the NCAA tournament. The most watched sporting event in the sports outside of the Super Bowl.
That's what I've never understood. Why so much fight, Dustin? Why they just will not hear? It's like they won't hear it. And I'm like,
I know.
What are you doing? It's like they're trying to hand you the greatest thing because the NCAA men's basketball tournament is the greatest sporting event that there is. And it's a 3-week just give it to me thing. Man, college football could get some of that. Not with the same immediacy, but they could get closer to it with that graphic that we saw because, man, people would just flock to that. And it would be the TV ratings, and and they would go to those games. So I just cannot understand what in the hell is holding them back.
Right. And then you could even the other thing I would do is I'd make a pitch and say, the first round, if you're going to do this to 16 teams, make the first round, the higher seed gets home field advantage. You get 1 more home game. What school is going to say no to that? And then you go on, then you can play the 8 teams, then you can have those games be played in the New Year's 6. So you're still getting those bowl games in. You're getting the Rose, the Orange, Fiesta, Sugar, whatever else there is out there. It just makes too much sense. But I guess because it makes too much sense is probably why it's not happening.
Well, why can't we ever get an answer as to why? That's the thing. It's never given. It is just never given. They will not explain why they are so adamantly opposed to that. And I can't come up with one. What is keeping them from it?
There has to be some sort of deal with the television networks, but I don't know why the television networks would say no to that. I don't know what else is going on where Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN, ABC, all those entities would not benefit from this kind of system. But I don't know. I don't know what the deals are with the bowl games. I don't know what the deals are with conferences and things like that. And like you said, this would be something for a lot of lawyers to dissect and say, hey, if you want to make a good amount of money here, this is how you can do this. This is how you can get out of these contracts or rewrite the contracts or whatever the case might be. I just don't understand. And maybe I just need to read more about it, but there has to be an answer out there. And maybe it's just too complex right now, but they've already talked about potentially expanding after the 4-team contract has come to an end. So why are we not saying, you know what, this is our plan for 2025 or 26, whatever year it is. This is our plan. This is how we're going to expand. It's coming. We just have to fulfill these next 3 or 4 years, and then we're going to expand. Let's start talking about it now because that's what needs to happen.
And that's the thing. What I can't get an answer as to why. Why will they not talk about it? Because everybody benefits. They all benefit. So I don't care that they have a current contract. Who cares? Every coach in America has a current contract. That doesn't stop a single coach from moving on. Nothing. So that's just, they continue to do it permeates across the board. But, oh, well, what are you going to do? Some games, great games like we talked about this weekend, Clemson, Notre Dame. There you go. Round 2. Now, there's no way. Please explain to me how Clemson and Notre Dame can both make it in after playing twice. See, this is a perfect example. They will have played twice, and you're going to tell me there's still a possibility that two teams have played twice this year of all years and still may end up in the top 4 together? That is almost a mathematical impossibility. But yet it's not even close to being impossible. It's very probable with this college football invitational committee. It's crazy.
Yeah, especially if Notre Dame wins, I think Clemson is going to be out. Although I wouldn't guarantee that. I would not guarantee it. I can understand it more if it's a close game because the first round you didn't have Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I don't know how you navigate this because but the ACC is going to push hard for it because they want 2 teams because that's an extra $6 million in their pocket. So you can guarantee that
you're dang right. Of course,
they're going to be politicking. And by the way, you know who's not been politicking this whole time is Kevin Warren. And
Texas
you see, Greg Sankey at the SEC who's
politicking. I didn't know he was still around. Is he still here?
Well,
I didn't know he was still up there. I thought he was on vacation. Well, I thought he was on vacation. I expected to hear from Barry Alvarez, the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Big Ten, that is true. We do hear more from Barry Alvarez than we hear anybody else. But you see all these different conferences and coaches and commissioners and what have you politicking for their league. And we have not seen that one bit from Kevin Warren. And we haven't, I mean, other than Barry Alvarez saying, yeah, we're changing the rules, he really hasn't been politicking either. So it's just been a very interesting year, to say the least. The Big Ten, just when you think they can't look worse, somehow they do. It's been incredible.
Well, I think the Big Ten is doing the right thing here. They have just keeping their mouth shut because they've got nothing to talk about. They need to keep their mouth shut. They've got a team that barely played, half its schedule that the committee has been enamored with. Like they get enamored with people. Oh, let's put them in because they're so good that it took 3 turnovers to win at home over a 21-point underdog. That's how good they are. But it's almost like beating a dead horse. But I just want to know about the change. What's it going to take for that to happen? Will it happen? Who has to care enough for it to change? That's the thing. It's the people that are affected, to me, that have to care enough. For fans or anybody else can cry all they want. They don't care. The committee doesn't care because they're all in it together, so it doesn't matter. But I think the optics has gotten bad enough and Gary, that guy, I mean, they just keep him off. Every time he comes on and starts talking, you're just the guy's sitting there just lying to you. He's just sitting there lying to your face. It's like, get out of here.
Right. Well, I think
it's tough to deal with.
I think the last time, not this past rankings, but the previous Tuesday, the reason Ohio State stayed in the number 4 spot, and he said, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson or whoever it was, they both scored touchdowns. I'm like, I don't think that's a logical reason is to keep Ohio State in the top 4. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. He has not sounded good from the start, and I don't know. What I want to do is for a full year.
That's the problem. That's who's running these things. That's the issue. You've got clowns. Running these operations. And that's the problem. And until change happens.
For one full year, I want to sit in on these committee meetings and see what it's like. I just want to see what the process is, what's talked about, whatever the case might be. I just want to sit in there for a full year and tell you what the criteria is and what they're actually discussing, because I think it would be fascinating. And I think it would also be incredibly frustrating based on the results that we're seeing this year.
Yeah. Let's see. We got to get there in a couple of minutes. What do you like in the Cincinnati-Tulsa game? Does Tulsa have a shot?
I would say yes. I mean, Cincinnati hasn't played since November 21st? I don't know when Tulsa last played, but I think that they have a shot. Playing
Florida cover the spread against Alabama.
No, I don't think so.
There's that 40%, baby.
That's right.
Boise State unranked playing SJSU, San Jose State. Oh wow. Number 24. Boise State, man. I'll always love Boise State for that one bowl game. I mean, that was just the funnest. I remember just watching the end of that game, and boy, that 2-point conversion, the Statue of Liberty, it was like, are you kidding me? It was just that was incredible. That was fun. But I don't see them getting the job done this week, unfortunately. Clemson and Notre Dame. Okay. Notre Dame is listed as the home team, but that's being played in Charlotte, so it doesn't really matter. It's actually closer for Clemson, to be honest with you. They've got Taylor Lawrence. I think they're the better team. I think Notre Dame's okay. I don't really know how good Clemson is, though. We don't ever know how good they really are because they play in a weak conference. A team that is that good, they shouldn't have lost to Notre Dame, I don't think. I think they should be able to stand that. Indiana took their backup quarterback and went to Wisconsin. I know that you're not saying it's not Notre Dame, but, man, this is the year that I think that definitely should have been 16 teams because I don't think that there's a clear winner. I really don't. Right. Do I think that I think that Ohio State can't be beat? Hell, Indiana should have beat them. Yeah. Clemson has been beaten. Notre Dame, I think, is very beatable, obviously. And who does that leave us? Who am I leaving out?
Alabama?
Alabama, of course. That is the one. They're the one team that may be, as always, but we'll certainly find out. But they may be heads and tails above all those other three. I think that they might be, but we'll certainly find out. But I think that Clemson, I think they win that game. And I think Notre Dame has if they lose that, whoever loses this game has no right to play in the national championship game. I'm sorry. You've played twice. I don't care if it splits. If you lose to Clemson with Trevor Lawrence, you beat him without him, you got to beat him with him or you're out. To me, I don't care. This is only a 4-team invitational. You don't need to have half the teams from one conference in this damn thing, especially if they already lost twice. Or lost.
Right.
It doesn't. What's the point? Yeah. Why play that's like having a tournament, losing, and then say, well, let's come back and play next week again instead. It makes no sense.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. And I think if Clemson blows
we are late for a break. We are late for a break. That's my fault. We were early, now we're late. Hey, let's take a break. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you here on this Thursday from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Dustin Studio, as always. Jim Coy here with you. A couple games last night on the hardwood. Villanova knocked off Indiana's next opponent, Butler, 85-66. So Butler getting to play last night. Just that's a great sign for this Crossroads Classic coming to be on Saturday. Indiana and Butler tangling at 11:30. So we'll see about that one. Texas beats Sam Houston State. Purdue and Ohio State. You mentioned that game. Purdue wins that one, 67-60. That's a nice win for Purdue, beating an Ohio State team that is expected to finish above them. Ohio State Purdue 5-2 on the year right now. 1-0 in the Big Ten is Ohio State 5-1 and 0-1 in the Big Ten. So good win for the Boilers.
Yeah, that was a good win, and this is a Purdue team to me that looks like it's going to get better as the season goes on. You look at Travion Williams last night, man. He almost had a triple-double. He was looking no-look passes. He had 7 assists, I think he finished the night with. He's a really underrated big man.
16 points, 9 rebounds, and 8. Nice little stat line, huh?
That's a great stat line for a big man.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I mean, you betcha. Duke and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, after going to Kentucky and beating Kentucky, man, you really have to wonder, how bad is Kentucky? Man, they lost to Richmond. Notre Dame, they ended up winning that game by barely, but they were just destroying Kentucky in that game. And then Duke beats Notre Dame at home after losing to a couple of Big Ten teams. So Notre Dame is not that good, and that means Kentucky's even worse. Duke is in the middle somewhere. The Big Ten's looking pretty strong right now. I mean, you have Michigan State go down there and win, Illinois go down there and win, and I think Illinois third best out of those 3 teams. I think it's Iowa, Michigan State, and Illinois right now. And you mentioned earlier this weekend, gigantic game between Iowa and Gonzaga. Man, whoo, that's a heavyweight fight, baby. That's a UFC title bout.
That's going to be so much fun. And I don't know how much people have watched the Iowa game or the Iowa play this season, but I haven't been up to snuff quite as much since football season's still going on. But Iowa, to me, has some of the best ball movement. They have obviously the best inside guy in Luka Garza, and then they've got a plethora of three-point shooters. So when they are clicking and they're passing the ball, they know each other well. They're an experienced team. They are a lot of fun to watch. And I haven't seen much of Gonzaga this year, but man, that Stephen Bardo said it last night. That game could be, that could be a 95 to 100 game because those two teams sprint down the floor. They put up a lot of points, and man, that's going to be so much fun this weekend.
I can't wait. Tonight, Kansas and Texas Tech going at it, so that one shouldn't be too bad. Kansas travels to Lubbock to take on the Red Raiders. First conference game for both. Creighton also, number 9 Creighton, traveling to St. John's. Those are the only, let's see, coming up Fridays. There's a couple of football games on Friday. I have to pull that up in a minute. But BYU, San Diego State, Tech, Tennessee. These are Friday games. Iowa State, West Virginia. West Virginia ranked 8th. So Missouri, number 16, Missouri also playing on Friday. Not a lot of games. There's only 4 games I see there. And then when's the Saturday, I guess, is when the Iowa Gonzaga happens. That's up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, too. Man, don't think about basketball in South Dakota. I'll think about South Dakota in months, to be honest with you. I love South Dakota. It's beautiful, but sports in South Dakota don't usually come in the same sentence.
Yeah, they don't. And so it's going to be, so this weekend you're going to have the Crossroads Classic. You're going to have Iowa Gonzaga. I'm sure there's a handful of other basketball games. And then you've got championship weekend. Like, this is going to be a buffet for the sports fan. And then you got Christmas this week. Man, what a great week. If you love sports, this is like Christmas came early because Saturday is going to be so much fun. I might have to buy another TV.
Oh, dude, listen to the games. Listen to the basketball games. Listen to this. You got number 23 Louis traveling to Wisconsin. That's the ACC Big Ten Challenge. I guess that's a scheduled game that got canceled. That is to take place at noon in Madison. And you've got North Carolina playing. There's a big names. North Carolina has looked pretty good this year. They should destroy Kentucky, but this is an opportunity for Kentucky to get it turned around, not only on the floor, but, optically wise. But that's a great matchup. Then you've got Baylor, number 2 Baylor, Kansas State, UCLA and Ohio State at 4:15. Also up in Cleveland, the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I forget what the Champions Classic or whatever that is.
Yeah,
Virginia Villanova.
Ooh, another
Virginia Villanova. That's canceled. Canceled.
Darn. So, get my hopes up.
But the ones I gave you, you take those college basketball games and then you add it to all the football games you mentioned. I'm glad I got multiple computer monitors here because they're going to all be running this weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I know. I might have to break out, phone, tablet, multiple computers, couple TVs to get all this. It's going to be like a sports book in my house by the time this weekend gets here because it's just so much fun. And then, you've got NBA basketball starting up, the NFL starting to wind down, just so much going on. It's crazy. Like, how did we survive all this time without sports over the summer months? And now we're getting the benefit. Now we're getting too many games. We can't even consume it all.
Well, let's see what do we have on the football side of things. Tonight, nothing. Canceled. Monroe and Troy. UAB Marshall, that's at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Ball State Buffalo, 7:30 tomorrow night. Nebraska Rutgers on the BTN tomorrow night. There's a battle. That's a true cross. That's a true crossover kind of a game right there because those teams are. I don't know how to describe Nebraska. Rutgers is an up-and-comer. Shiano's got them moving a little bit. They win the 3 road games after losing 21 straight conference games. Nebraska, brother, I just see them as spinning their wheels under Scott Frost. I just haven't seen them gain that traction yet.
I have one word for Nebraska, and it's inconsistent. That's the best way to describe it because they looked good at times this season, and then the next week they get blown out by 20 points by Illinois. So they've been very inconsistent. But think about this. I just saw this the other day too. Now Rutgers they're 3-5 this season. If they beat Nebraska on Friday night, they'll have 4 wins, 4 Big Ten wins this season. Chris Ash, as the head coach in 3.5 seasons, had 3. So in Greg Schiano's first season, he could have more Big Ten wins than Chris Ash had in 3.5 seasons. Incredible.
And do you remember how much trouble they had getting Greg Schiano hired? The AD was kind of screwing it. It seemed like they were kind of screwing it up. And wasn't it a booster that stepped in and basically said, you better get this done. Basically is what he told. It was almost hilarious. And they got it done. But can you imagine had they not gotten this done? And how many times that guy's going to him right now and saying, this is what makes it's just the difference maker. And people make so many mistakes. And that happens in sports so many times. You see it. They just won't hire the right person. And it matters. The right person matters. Greg Schiano matters. Tom Allen matters. Better examples than those 2 guys than the right coach matters. It does. They've changed the fortunes of both of these schools, but it's the culture. But to do it so quickly, Greg Schiano, I mean, hey, if it wasn't for Tom Allen, he'd be coach of the year in the Big Ten. There's no question.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you look at what I always look to for this kind of stuff is how good is the fit. And you look at Greg Schiano, he had success up in that East Coast. He had success at Rutgers beforehand. He knows what it takes to win. He knows how to get that fan base motivated. He knows how to get those players motivated. It's the same thing with Tom Allen. He knows he loves coaching at Indiana. That makes a difference. You can't just have some guy who views it as a stepping stone job. You can't have a guy come in and say, you know what, if I do well in Indiana, I'm going to move on to the next thing. Tom Allen may very well at some point in his career say, you know what, I've done all I can do at Indiana. I'm going to move on. But he legitimately enjoys and loves coaching at Indiana. So I think he's going to stick around for a while. And you have to have those guys. I think Greg Schiano is going to stick around a while at Rutgers. He loves coaching at Rutgers. He's been successful there. And you have to have those guys. You see so many times there's just failures because people view these jobs as stepping stone jobs or, second tier Big Ten jobs. But if you get the right guy in there, as we've seen, Rutgers isn't going to compete with Ohio State anytime soon, but there's no reason they can't get to 7 or 8 wins or be as good as Indiana has been, every once in a while. You can do that. And those are great examples. Tom Allen and Greg Schiano have both proven that you get the right guy and any program can win in any conference.
Your menu of games for this weekend, the noon slate, Florida State, Wake Forest, nobody cares. Northwestern and Ohio State, noon, the Big Ten championship. I'm sure I'll check in on it, but I can't imagine that being much of a game. Texas A&M, Tennessee, Texas A&M should win that easy. The game of the noon slot, you got Oklahoma and Iowa State. There's the two losers. That's going to see who loses that game. So interested to watch that game. Then we move on to there's 1:30 game. That's Washington State, Utah. Then the 3:30 games. There's Louisiana and Coastal Carolina going at it. So you got those two matching up. Louisiana, who had beaten in the Iowa State, Coastal Carolina undefeated, of course. Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, Mississippi State, Clemson at Notre Dame. That's at 4:00. So number 3, Clemson at Notre Dame at 4. Minnesota, Wisconsin. Oh, they're getting that game in. Good for them. Good to see to get the Paul Bunyan Axe game in. That's awesome.
Yes.
The game that happened. Boise State, San Jose State. We said Illinois, Penn State, Stanford, UCLA, Michigan State, Maryland. There's 2 teams that are fighting for that's an important game for those 2 teams. Whoever wins that last game, that's man, they need to end both those teams desperately need to end their season with a win. Somebody's going to get to do it there.
Yeah, it would be huge for Maryland because if they get that win against Michigan State, that means they move to 3-3 and they finish 500 after being 3-9 last season. So you talk about Rutgers having a big uptick this year. That would be, even though they played only 6 games out of the 9, that would still be a huge boost for Maryland to finish 500.
Let's see. Yep, let's get to that. Michigan State, Maryland, Alabama, Florida. It's at 8:00. So there's your highlight game. Tulsa, Cincinnati at 8:00 as well. And then, hey, the late nighter, Arizona State and Oregon State. We'll talk about some matchups when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, wrap things up when we come back. Listening to Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The 2021 golf season is just around the corner. Book your next outing or get your membership from the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Just call 812-824-4040. And whether you're playing golf or not, you'll want to check out the new Psalms Clubhouse. It's open to the public for lunch or dinner, and the food is fantastic. Call 812-824-4040 for reservations or tee times. The Golf Club at Eagle Point and Psalms Clubhouse. A winner every time.
Does your bank offer the personal service of a community bank combined with big bank products that you expect? I'm Dane Chandler, Banking Center Manager with Banterra, and with our bank, you get the best of both worlds. Our easy-to-use mobile app includes conveniences like mobile check deposit. We offer competitive CD and money market rates, smart mortgage options, and unmatched business products and services. Switching to Banterra is easy. Stop by our locations to learn more. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The college and pro football seasons bring friends together, and Leroy's Tavern is a place to watch all the games every week with the NFL Sunday Ticket while enjoying $1 Busch Light drafts every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Leroy's Tavern also features a $6 daily lunch special from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, featuring a sandwich, fries, or onion rings, or a 7-inch pizza and a non-alcoholic drink for just $6. Be part of the karaoke fun every Friday and Saturday night. Leroy's Tavern, a West Side tradition for 50 years at 2659 Mount Vernon Avenue.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun.
Boy, you hate when a good one comes on. You kind of want to just sit there and sing with it. There's a classic.
I know.
Yeah. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday. About to wrap things up. What was I talking about in the break to you? I mentioned something.
We're talking about
Good
great
play
football games. Yeah, I know. We're both distracted by that great music.
Yeah, that was awesome. But and Indiana signed a shooter. We mentioned that earlier, Parker Stewart. We'll talk more about that tomorrow with Alec Lasley when he comes on from the Hoosier.com, as well as Verdell. And I can't wait to talk to AJ. He had Antoine Randall L. on his podcast this week.
Oh, nice.
AJ Guyton does a Field of 68 podcast each week and joins us on Fridays to talk about him. But he had Randall L. on this week, man. That dude was just he's just one of those special players. It's and was a great basketball player. I remember Mark Deal, who's a former football coach in Indiana, is still involved in the program, talked about recruiting Randall L., but was recruiting Allen Iverson at the same time because he was a dual sport star quarterback that was a bad man at that position, apparently. You can only imagine how he had to be tremendous because look what he did on the basketball floor in the NBA at his size. Right. It didn't matter. It's like, wow. Yeah, can you imagine? I bet he was – can you imagine seeing him back there at a quarterback as a dual threat quarterback?
I mean, I'm just thinking about how quick he, like Michael Vick-esque almost, I would think he would have to have been back then. And
maybe fast, maybe quicker because of the smaller speed.
He could have. And it's Allen Iverson was, whatever you say about him, I mean, he was one of the toughest players. I mean, he was always playing hurt. He always seemed like he had some sort of injury, but he never got silent. He was just a tough dude. So he would have been really fun to see play football, but obviously he had a pretty good option there to go to the NBA. But Antoine Randall, imagine recruiting those two guys, both multi-sport athletes. Gosh, that would have been so much fun to be in on that.
Allen would have made it to football because he didn't like to practice. He don't want to practice.
That's true. That's a great point. I'm
kidding. But it's just neat because there's so many stories that we don't know about the players like that. But just tremendous. But looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This weekend is absolutely loaded with stuff to watch. But things that are important. are there any games that could possibly change Indiana's bowl fortunes? I mean, I don't know. I guess UCLA, can they lose, or USC, can they lose and still go to the Fiesta Bowl now?
They might be able to. I have no idea what the bowl criteria is going to be. They've already said that there is no criteria. There is no criteria, but I don't know if those. I don't know. I guess my point is I don't know what the contracts look like. Are they still going to pit a Pac-12 and a Big Ten team against each other? Well, I got to assume they would try to do that.
The Pac-12 champion, yeah, they're going to be in a New Year's Six game, and so that's the closest this year because the Rose Bowl is one of the semifinal games. But there's been talk about moving that from the Rose Bowl.
Right, so they could allow fans.
Then the Rose Bowl would not even be played this year.
Isn't that crazy?
That is absolutely nuts.
I think it hasn't been played since 1950.
Now, do you think Indiana fans would rather play in the Rose Bowl instead of the Fiesta Bowl?
Well, I would. Wouldn't you? I mean,
yeah.
I can't think of anybody.
It's too late to move it. It's crazy how they can at times say, "Oh, well, we can't do that." It's just, but you can just cancel a Rose Bowl.
Right.
You can do that? It's easy.
I guess you're going to have two separate Fiesta Bowls or something because they can't even take the name because the city of Pasadena has rights to the name Rose Bowl. So that's going to be crazy. But I think it wouldn't – if USC loses, then Indiana's going to play Oregon, I'm assuming. But
that's who they're playing this weekend. I've not kept up with the Pac-12 at all because I didn't even know that. Oh, they're playing. Oh yeah, okay. Welcome.
Yeah, they were even later than the Big Ten. So
yeah, it's been hard enough trying to keep up with Indiana's fortunes, much less with Indiana's possible opponent could be. But we'll see. Looking on that, but entry into the bowl pantheon of upper level teams because USC is the team they played in the 1967 Rose Bowl. Kind of weird, kind of funny that's who they would end up playing. Very ironic.
That would be, and in the year that you've broken all these droughts and losing streaks to so many teams, how awesome would it be to get a little piece of history back that you play the team that you played in the Rose Bowl, 50, 60 years ago. That would be
time, but beat
awesome.
them this time. Make sure you beat them this time. They don't have O.J. Simpson.
I was going to say, we talk about who Indiana's opponent's going to be. Unless they have, if they're playing anybody from the Pac-12, I don't think it matters, to be honest. They're better than anybody in the Pac-12, I would say. And I don't know that it's particularly close.
I think so. I mean, their defense. People are not giving that defense credit. How many first-teamers did they have?
4. 4 first-teamers and 7 total selections to the
all Big Ten
3
performers.
Teams, I think.
I mean, that's impressive for this Indiana team.
It's program records. Both of them
that's
records.
A big feather in Tom Allen's cap. Womack too. I mean, Kane Womack got a lot of DC because he was young for this bowl game. But of course, Kane Womack is expecting to coach for Indiana as they move forward, which is beneficial. But he's got to replace him, so we have to look at that. I think he's going to do what Tom Allen does. I think he's going to elevate from within and then replace that lower level position because he likes to have the guys that he has a relationship with, that he has confidence in. And I just think that, someone like Casey Teagarden, I could see possibly moving over from special teams coordinator. Who knows? I don't know. But I think it will come from within.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that front. And you didn't see much, Indiana's offense was not as good this year as it was last year, but you didn't see a whole lot of transition. It was pretty seamless, it seemed like. I know they struggled in that first game against Penn State, but Penn State's defense back then was really, really good. So I would suspect he goes that route again. We'll see, but what a good problem to have. This is the sign of a healthy program. You lose your offensive coordinator last season and then to Fresno State, and then this season you lose your defensive coordinator to South Alabama. So, when you're doing good things, you're going to have your staff poached, and it's just going to create more opportunities. And This is a really good. I know it's disappointing. You want to keep those guys forever, but this is also a sign of a healthy program, and that's a really good thing for Tom Allen and the Hoosiers.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I found yesterday in a presser with him, and he was asked about that, and he's like, not in a hurry. And he was just like, it was like no big deal. And that is such a marked difference already. That's how much confidence and that he has gained as a head coach and through these 4 years. He was serious. I mean, I believed him when he said, he's like, I'm not in a hurry. He's not. I believe it. He's going to make the right move. He's got Kane Womack to coach in the bowl game. And so he's not going to do anything rash. And he just sounded, that was the most confident I have heard him as the head coach at Indiana. Just making that one little statement. He is, to me, that he's really grown into that position.
Well, and you see so many times that coaches make the wrong decision because they are rushing into it or they're trying to fill that position quickly. And Tom Allen does not want to do that. That's for sure, because he's already built something. You got to make sure you get that right guy and continue to build.
Well, man, it's been a fun, full day. Get out of here. Says that Iowa doesn't defend well. You got to outscore them. Kind of reminds him of some of Crean's teams. And he mentions the Kansas-Texas Tech game tonight. Yeah, we talked about that. That'll be a fun one to watch. So get on that. Man, I can't thank you enough as always. Look forward to doing it again next week because we'll know who's going where, and we'll have all the championship games to talk about. We'll know where Indiana's going. We'll know who's playing in what. And make some travel recommendations, man. We can make some travel plans. Are you going to any bowl games? I think he's having trouble here. But anyway, it's been a great fun day. We appreciate everybody for joining us. I hope you go out and have a good day. Do something nice for somebody. Please make sure you wear your mask. Join us tomorrow. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.